Have you ever wondered about the tales of valor and faith that shaped our history? Imagine a time when knights, kings, and warriors embarked on a journey, not for land or gold, but for loyalty and honor. This is the story of the British Crusaders, a tale of bravery, faith, and adventure. What drove these men to leave their homes and march towards the unknown? What about the beliefs, battles, and tales of these brave souls? The next few minutes will take you back to the times of the Holy Wars. The Crusades, a series of religious wars, remain one of the most fascinating and complex chapters in history. But what role did the British play in these holy wars? Let's find out. The Crusades began in the late 11th century, a tumultuous period marked by religious fervor and political upheaval. The primary objective was to reclaim Jerusalem and the Holy Land from Muslim control. It was a call that resonated across Europe, reaching the shores of Britain, where it ignited a passionate response. The British response to the Crusades was significant. Nobles, knights, and even commoners were moved by a combination of religious fervor, the promise of absolution, and the lure of adventure. The First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, saw limited British involvement, but it was during the subsequent Crusades that the British participation became more pronounced. But what were the major crusades involving the British? The Third Crusade, also known as the King's Crusade, is perhaps the most famous. It saw Richard the Lionheart pitted against the formidable Muslim leader Saladin. His reign marked a high point of British involvement in the Holy Wars. Richard's leadership in the Third Crusade, 1189 to 1192, is legendary. His military prowess, strategic insight, and personal bravery made him a revered figure, not just in Britain, but across Christendom. The Fourth Crusade, though less involved with the British, also saw participation from British nobles. These crusades were not just military campaigns. They were journeys of faith, fraught with danger and hardship. Curious about their military strategies and tactics? The British Crusaders were not just warriors driven by faith. They were masters in the art of war. Their skills were sharpened on the battlefields of the British Isles. One of their key strengths was the use of heavy cavalry. Imagine the thundering hooves of armored horses and knights charging into battle, a formidable sight that often overwhelmed their enemies. But did you know that the British also revolutionized warfare with the longbow? This powerful weapon, capable of piercing armor at long distances, was a game-changer in battles. The British were adept at building strong castles. These weren't just fortresses, they were symbols of power and strategic points of defense. The techniques they used in castle construction were later applied in the Holy Land, significantly influencing Crusader fortifications. These castles stood as bulwarks against enemy assaults, often turning the tide of sieges. Their opponents, who were not used to such methods, always found themselves at a disadvantage. The combination of heavy cavalry, longbow marksmanship, and robust defenses gave the British Crusaders a distinct edge in combat. How do you think these tactics shaped the outcomes of the Crusades? Can you imagine the impact of these innovations on the medieval battlefield? The British Crusaders were not just fighting with swords and shields. They were using strategy, technology, and ingenuity to claim victories in the Holy Wars. The British Crusaders, in their quest for the Holy Land, were not solitary fighters. They joined a diverse array of forces from across Europe, creating a melting pot of military might. This coalition brought together knights and soldiers from various backgrounds, each with their unique skills and tactics. Imagine the scene. English knights standing shoulder to shoulder with French cavaliers and Italian infantry. But how did these diverse groups manage to work together? This mix of cultures and fighting styles was both a challenge and an opportunity. It led to an incredible exchange of ideas and tactics, enriching each group's military knowledge. The impact of the Crusades on British society was far-reaching. They were not just military campaigns, they were journeys that opened up the world. The returning Crusaders brought back more than just stories of battle. They introduced new trade routes, connecting Britain to distant lands. This led to an influx of exotic goods, new foods, and even spices that would change British cuisine forever. Can you imagine testing these new flavors for the first time? The tales of distant lands and different cultures broadened the horizons of the British people. They heard of vast deserts, ancient cities, and diverse people, sparking curiosity and a sense of adventure. But have you considered the cost of these expeditions? The financial burden of the Crusades was immense. Funding such large-scale military campaigns required substantial resources, leading to increased taxes and financial strain back home. This often led to discontent among the populace, who bore the brunt of these costs. The human cost was also significant. Many who left for the Crusades never returned, leaving families and communities back home to cope with their loss. What was the impact of this loss on society? Before we continue, a quick pause. If you're as captivated by the tale of the British Crusaders as we are, hit that like button and subscribe for more mysterious stories from history. And hey, why not share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery? Together, let's recall the history of the British Crusaders. Despite these challenges, the Crusades left an indelible mark on British history. They were a period of significant change, bringing both advancements and hardships. The Crusades were a time of conflict and discovery, of loss and gain. They shaped the course of British history, influencing not just military tactics, but also culture, trade, and society. The story of the British Crusaders weaves threads of courage, ambition, and an unending quest for understanding our world. What lessons can we learn from the complexities of the Crusades? The British Crusaders faced numerous challenges. The long journey to the Holy Land was full of danger, from storms at sea to bandits on land. Once there, they had to adapt to an unfamiliar and harsh environment, battling not just their human adversaries, but also disease and scarcity of resources. Despite these challenges, the British Crusaders left a lasting legacy in the Holy Land. They were instrumental in establishing and defending Crusader states. Their influence can still be seen in the castles and fortifications that are scattered across the landscape. Today, the Crusades are remembered in various ways. In Britain, they're a part of the national historical narrative, a story of faith, courage, and adventure. They are remembered through literature, art, and folklore. However, it's also essential to recognize the darker side of the Crusades, marked by violence and intolerance. The British Crusaders' story is not just a tale of conquest and adventure, but also a reflection of the human spirit, its aspirations, strengths, and flaws. It's a story that continues to fascinate and inspire, a reminder of a time when the world was a vast, mysterious place, and faith could move mountains. It's a chapter of history that continues to fascinate and provoke thought. How did these events shape the world we know today? We would love to hear from you in the comments below. Remember, history is not just about the past, it's a mirror reflecting our times. Keep seeking, questioning, and the spirit of curiosity alive. Until next time.